Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to week 2 of the Kraken 11 power rankings. Week 1 is here on the right, so we have everything. Let's get that out of there. Everything from best to worst on the right from before, and I'm going to write them in here on week 2. So, obviously, just an overview. It was a pretty crazy week, honestly. We had some very strange wins. We had some very obscure losses, and a really awesome matchup up top between Chris and Morganelli, two of the top three, I think. Yeah, two of the top 3 scoring teams. Pretty sweet. So we had a lot of cool stuff to break down. I don't want to make this too long. Like I said, I'm aiming for 10 to 12 minutes on these, which is about a minute a team. So I'm definitely going over anyway. So this will probably be closer to 15 minutes. So if you can stand that, awesome. And if not, well, then I don't really want you here anyway. So at the very bottom, I'm just going to dive right into Jonathan Taylor fan club at the very bottom. So I want to dissect this a little bit, and I want to just give a quick reasoning. So you look at the roster top to bottom, Trevor Lawrence and those 3 wide receivers, pretty solid, especially when you had, DJ Moore in there. I think, better times are ahead for DJ Moore. And then I think Nico Collins is a pretty solid guy there too. But the big issue that I have, and I had this problem with, right after the draft too, is if you take Jonathan Taylor in the first round, that's fine. I understood that pick. But what I was expecting to see is some more stable running back picks to sort of build around that, just in case, the what expected to have happen did happen with Jonathan Taylor. What you can't do is pick up a guy like J.K. Dobbins, who, look, amazing athlete, but has had so many injuries that he probably can't even run the same way he used to, and is maybe overcompensating in one way or another, and is more likely to put himself at risk of another injury somewhere else because, of injuries in the past. So, I'm trying to think of what the word is, but you're putting yourself at risk for more injuries because you're shifting weight differently because of other injuries you had in the past. It makes you a perennial injury risk, and I didn't think this would happen this soon, but he's already out for season. And then Antonio Gibson. I actually liked Antonio Gibson for in the draft for me, as a potential depth piece. But I mean, these guys aren't bad independent of each other, but you cannot have a running back core of all these guys where they're just very, very hazardous and very bad situations. So this is why I have Jonathan Taylor fan club at the bottom. I think it was just a mismanaged draft on the running back side of things. But it is what it is. McGovern's going to be happy. He's in California. He's happy West Coast McGovern. So I'm sure this doesn't bother him one single bit. So next I have on here, let's look through. I did make a quick note on which teams I thought were going to be good and which ones were bad. So I'm going to put Herb Ertz here. And this is not necessarily all Jenny's fault. And even though she won, I have definitely some lingering concerns of her team, and I feel bad because this happens every year. I did this last year where she won a bunch of games at the beginning, and I kept saying this team is not it because it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting touchdown after touchdown, and Antonio Gibson getting touchdown after touchdown, and that kind of stuff. And eventually, I ended up being right, which is why I still have a job making zero money in podcasting / doing these power rankings. So anyway, the reason why this team is not good is Drake London. That is a horrible debut with 0 points. I saw nothing out of that game that I would think that, hey, he's going to put up some big numbers. That's not good. Pitts is still around to steal steal targets. Mac Hollins, for whatever reason, does get targets too. And obviously the running game is the big thing. They're going to be a run team. Which is, I think, pretty much what everyone expected. What I like is Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook now, especially with Aaron Rodgers out. But, I mean, having to start Dalton Schultz in flex, thankfully it didn't cost her a win. But, you gotta wonder, what maybe what with Mark Andrews coming back, you gotta wonder how viable this team is going to be going forward. Cooper Kupp might not ever be the same. And then Rashad Penny, a healthy scratch, Mechie out. This is obviously week 2, so these aren't week 1 numbers. But anyway, I just don't have I don't have a lot of confidence in this team going forward. And yeah, I good thing there's a week 1 win, so there's some hope, but not. I don't think that's going to be enough. So next I have here Stacks. There we go. Another team with a week 1 win that I don't think is sustainable. And I have them ranked lower than the people they beat. And I'll go over slightly I'll go over, I guess, why I believe this. So Geno Smith, vintage Geno Smith performance in week 1 against the Rams. Really not much going on here. 10 points, awful, truly, truly awful. Ayuk, I love Ayuk, put up some good numbers there. But, I don't like Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't like what I saw from him in New England, so he could be a bust. Najee Harris, I give him a pass because of San Francisco. So there are some good players in here. The Cam Akers situation is insane. But it's what happened last year. Who knows what'll happen? He's a flex at best. And then there is some depth in here, but Gainwell's looking injured. So I just don't see anything on this team that's super promising. Chubb is a beast, but that really is where it ends. To be able to only put up 105 points, granted Seattle defense gave you nothing, but you put up 105 points when registering 4 touchdowns via rushing and receiving. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. So maybe he'll make some moves, but we'll see later. So next I have K. There it is. The 4th K is always important, as said by this team manager Zach on his own in his interview with the Crew News Network. But anyway, just looking at his team, he did put up a solid, I think it was like 110 in week 1. But here's where I have some potential concerns is really when you get down here, and it's not dissimilar from other teams, but Barkley will have his. He'll be fine. This is I'm honestly at a 40-0 loss. That's a good outcome for Barkley. I think you can see that efficiency over 4 yards a carry. Rachaad White, scary outing. The volume was there. He participated, all that good stuff. That's going to be one of the buzzwords of the year is route participation I've been seeing. But yeah, I think the usage is there, and there's hopefully better times for Rachaad White, though they might be playing from behind a lot. We won't know for sure. Njoku, unfortunately, didn't really get much of anything for targets. Was really a non-factor in it, which we've seen from him in the past. Some blow-up spots and a lot of just sort of dud kinds of games. DeAndre Swift, that would be scaring me. He didn't really play at all. So there's just a lot of the depth is horrifically scary down here, and some surprise poor performances, especially out of here. So I think Zach's gonna need to make some big moves in order to get himself out, out of the bottom there. So again, he got it's 111 points is fine. But 12 of them came from New England, so the rest of the team really just didn't do that much, which is definitely scary. So moving on to the next is myself. We're gonna put right here Kamish. There it is. Now that is something that I am very happy with my team's performance. All right, real quick edit there, just because I showed my waivers, so I didn't want anyone to see that. So anyway, what I was saying was that I was happy with my team's performance, and I definitely could see myself going up from here. Not a whole lot of touchdowns that I scored. I mean, Tua had an amazing game. I win this matchup even without Tua, but I think Anthony Richardson here is a good floor, and I like the amount of targets that my guys got. My running backs were exactly what I had signed up for. It was inefficient for Ramondre, but the Eagles front line was amazing. And Miles Sanders was heavily involved and more involved in the passing game like I also was expecting. So really, really good there. And I think there's just more that I can get done. I have a solid floor guy, I think, in Anthony Richardson with that rushing game. So I think it's in the midfield is a good spot for my team. So that is what it is. But, moving up from there, I have to actually double check and see exactly who I had coming up next. So after me, yes, McDonald's. So very interesting week from Jay's team. You look here, I think the T Higgins 0 output was absolutely insane. And it really, Deontay Johnson's now down to doubtful. That's no good. But there's pretty much were there no touchdowns here? There was a touchdown in the Eagles defense. But Burks is going to be scary unless something happens with the QB situation there. Lazard, basically you can hardly start him anymore. Jacobs will have his, though I do worry about Josh Jacobs. I don't remember if I said it in the first video, but I think Jacobs could return to the Jacobs of old. There was a handful of seasons of Jacobs just being a guy that nobody wanted, then one amazing year last year. I am not sold on Josh Jacobs, but he could prove me wrong. I'm not willing to die on the hill of, Josh Jacobs stinks. So, I just didn't want anything to do with him. And not that I even had a chance. But James Conner, his usage was crazy. That team needs something to be better for him to be able to maybe get some more efficiency out of it. But I liked his usage. But I expect some better times ahead for Jay's team. I think overall it's just you're going to have Kelsey. Kelsey's going to be back. Judy will hopefully be back. I think this team's just a lot better than what we saw here. And, barely losing to Stacks, I think just shows that there's still a lot to like. So next I'm going to go to James White Babies. Who's next? James White Babies. So the first thing is Josh Allen. I hated what I saw from Josh Allen last night. I thought he played really bad. Still very bad with the football in the sense of just all those turnovers. But it's also the Jets defense. So how much of it's the Jets defense? How much of it's Josh Allen? You just don't. I don't know. So when I had him last year, I thought I did not like it was pretty much the entire second half of the season where he was just, a slightly above average fantasy QB. Not something I was excited about, and I did not want to spend a second rounder to keep him coming into this year. Though he could easily turn around. He is Josh Allen after all, so we'll wait and see. But I did not like what I saw. But if I'm Nolan, I'm not trying to sell him either. But his performance, where is it? Week 1. I gotta look at this team output because this is crazy. Tyler Lockett, that 2 point. That's what Tyler Lockett does. He either has a good game or he doesn't, which is kind of a stupid thing to say. But he can bust pretty hard. And there's just so much. There's so many pieces in Seattle. Not just so many mouths to feed, but there's just a lot of different pieces. And I just Geno Smith again, sort of like where Josh Jacobs had one good year. Geno Smith has a career of being bad and had a good year last year, and there's all the mouths to feed. So, again, I don't think it's just being, mouths to feed. I just think there's just a lot of different moving pieces and a quarterback that's not capable of supporting all of them. Tyler Lockett, I'm pretty sure, is a team captain there, so I assume he'll get his, but definitely not what I like to see. I'd be more worried, honestly, of Scary Terry, because just how bad Washington looked against a very bad Arizona team. Christian Kirk, I do think he'll come back. I don't think teams were ready for Calvin Ridley. I think they'll get ready for Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk will thrive in a number 2 role. So I think this is just a bad outing. A lot of this stuff just seems kind of fluky. No touchdowns scored. And I think there's just better, like I said before, better times ahead. This bench looked really nice. Algier is now a viable flex. With the amount of volume he's been getting, and Atlanta being just a completely run-dependent or a run-heavy team. Roshan Johnson, I saw some hype on him preseason, and he's lived up to it a bit. I think he has to get a little bit more usage to be a weekly flex, but he could fill in during the bye weeks, and he doesn't have a bye until week 13, so he can fill in, which I think is what he's best for. So overall, I think Nolan's team is okay, even though they put up the worst points. I just think it was just a horrible, just like the worst of bad luck performances from the players there. We'll wait to see, but if we have another week or two of what we see here with just low usage and just overall low output, then he'll be dropping down really, really fast. But anyway, let's go to the next team. I'm gonna write it here first again. I'm gonna go with Jewish. Should I just leave it at Jewish? No, I won't leave it at Jewish. Jewish MCC. Let's go back to the league here. And, I every year I think I was telling Elliot this before. Every year I seem to disrespect his teams, and I get I get what's coming to me for it. But I just the week 1 performances. Here's what I saw. I saw Jalen Hurts go against the stout New England defense. I saw Jamar Chase being the best player on Cincinnati, and he will continue to be. Marquise Brown, I mean, this is I'm not expecting much from him. This is definitely not a floor game, but it's not a ceiling game either. I think this is about average. Rashad Bateman, that's a big yikes in Baltimore. But when you have CMC, Tony Pollard, both on really strong offenses, is that they're the especially with San Francisco having the elite defense and McCaffrey's the running back. I mean, he's barring injury, he's amazing. He's going to be amazing all year. He'll carry this team. It'll be Hurts, Chase, CMC. Tony Pollard got those nice 2 touchdowns there, which really helped with this number. But in typical Elliott fashion, with Jeff Wilson going into injured reserve, gets him a free Raheem Mostert starter. You now have J.K. Dobbins out, which gets him a free Gus Edwards starter. I mean, this is sort of how it falls into place. We'll see if he's able to take advantage of it. But this is a team that's really got a lot going for them. Buffalo defense is I didn't actually watch the end of the game last night. But these are not great numbers, especially against the Jets. But in any case, I think it's a very, very solid team. I think it's the fifth. I have it fifth best team, right? Right? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so that'll be the 5th best team. So then let's just move to after that. After that, I have T-Bib. T-B-I-B. So the second highest scoring team in the Kraken last week, had very good starters. I mean, there's some really good starters, at least, that had strong games. And I'm going to point out why this team is not higher in my rankings. And it has nothing to do, actually, with the Austin Eckler questionable tag. It has nothing to do with that. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this, the overhype that I saw for Aaron Rodgers. Justin Fields was even worse. The hype for Justin Fields was even worse. Talking about throwing for over 4,000 yards, rushing for another, 1,000 plus. Look, he did so well last year. The reason why he did so well rushing last year is just because teams hadn't prepared for him yet. They hadn't seen the way he runs. Not all running mobile quarterbacks are the same. And it takes time for defensive coordinators to adjust and build game plans and prepare. That's what the offseason's for. And that's what we're going to be seeing this year. I think teams are going to find out ways to contain Justin Fields better. I don't think he knows how to throw the ball still. And I don't think a new receiver in DJ Moore is going to help with that. And they're already calling out questionable effort from Claypool. I just, it's a mess of an organization. It's a mess of a QB. I'm not a big fan of Justin Fields. But even so, it's not like he was, it's not like he overperformed. These are just solid performances all around. Jordan Addison had a great game. Did not have I think he played fewer snaps than Osborne, but definitely made them count. Mike Evans, that's a solid performance. That's 10 targets. You love to see that. Olave is going to be Olave. That's good. DK Metcalf, for the same reasons I mentioned, Tyler Lockett. I have no faith in Seattle receivers. I think, this is definitely not ceiling performance, but I think his average weekly output is going to be probably about 9 to 10 for rest of the season there, with some occasional boom games. But maybe I'm overreacting, but I don't have a lot of faith in DK Metcalf, and that's been well documented. But speaking of not a lot of faith, touchdown from Alexander Mattison. This is what a lot of people were afraid of, was this horribly inefficient performance. And it's not like he had a whole ton of participation in the passing game. He really got saved by that touchdown. And even then failed to hit this, pretty modest projection, but not something he's more of a flex, I'd say, going forward. James Cook, same sort of deal. I liked his participation more, even though these numbers didn't reflect it. You have more targets, and just watching the game passed the eyeball test a bit. And that was against the Jets. I think he's going to do better against softer defenses. So I think James Cook is better suited for this RB2 role. But then after you get down here, there's nothing. Rashee Rice, there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing down here. But the starters are really good. And San Francisco is going to continue to be a good defense. I mean, there's the Rams had a good week. I'm just thinking about NFC West teams and their offenses. So Arizona, garbage. The Rams are supposed to be garbage. We'll see about that, but I think San Francisco should still be able to put them to bed a bit. So good defense, some solid players in here, but I think you got a very, very good week, and there are going to be worse weeks for these guys, and especially if Eckler goes down, you can't. I mean, even so, these are the numbers that he does put up, but there's also a lot of he shared a lot of snaps with Kelly, so that makes me a little bit concerned too. And Eckler's not really known for a ton of rushing yards, so this is more of an outlier. The bonus points there are a bit of an outlier. These 5 targets, we'll just see. I think it's a great first week, but we'll see how it goes from there on. But I'm definitely dwelling on this a little bit too much. I'm going to move up now to what I think is the third team, and that is Kraken Combined Tour. Another season of goddamn Morganelli in the top 3 as far as rankings. I mean, it's it seems like every year he's sitting there at the top. So let's jump into the week 1 for him and just go through all the players. So you have Mahomes has a below average start. Now, is this an issue without Kelsey? Is there something wrong with Mahomes? I think it's just no Kelsey. And obviously, Kadarius Toney really had a bad game, which made these numbers worse than they were. It would be very easy for Mahomes to have had 25 points in that game, maybe even 26 in that game. If it weren't for just Toney's worst game of his career, and probably worst game of any wide receiver of this entire year going forward. I don't think any receiver will have a worse game than he did. But Jefferson, I mean, the benefits of getting a Justin Jefferson in the 4th round cannot possibly be overstated. He's the best talent in football, and being able to have him, as cheap as the 4th round is absolutely game breaking. And ETN had a good game too. But you sort of look between the lines in here. Robinson's usage will fluctuate, I think, just because it's Washington. It's kind of strange. But there are going to be better days ahead for Kittle. Pierce, some of the fears that people had on Pierce about his low efficiency are here, and they're going to be in a negative game script a lot because their offense is kind of weak. I'm not a big fan of Gabe Davis, but down here, this is where this could just be me. I love Puka Nacua. I wish I had kept him. I think he is, he's Cooper Kupp light, and I think, and also I just don't think Kupp is ever going to be the same again. I think he could be out for much longer than the 4 weeks, and I think Nacua really slides into that role perfectly, and he's going to slot in right here at wide receiver 3, and this team is just going to be very stable, I think, moving forward. So that's where I stand on that. So it's now, who do I have number 2 between the crew and Antonio Gibson's Hitman Reborn? Well, I have Antonio Gibson's Hitman Reborn as number 2. And the big reason why is the running backs. Let me find it in here. Where are you? Okay. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, Khalil Herbert, Javonte Williams. I think he's going to be, improving every week. So I do think that they're good but risky. And there's just not really, Kieran Williams is going to be hard to start ever. A.J. Dillon, hard to start ever. And then it sort of, dies off. Khalil Herbert could be displaced by Roschon Johnson. Or, I don't know what Dante Foreman did. Probably nothing. But I don't like Chicago running backs. So it really is going to mean, can Gibbs step up and be the first rounder that Freaky needs him to be? Because outside of that, Burrow will be fine. And again, the elite wide receiving core is what almost gave him the win this week. So close, but didn't get it. And then New Orleans defense is solid too in a weak division. So Freaky's team is really solid, pretty much all the way around. Waller had probably as bad as a week as you could have. I mean, they scored nothing, and he still got a few points, right? Like he still got like 7 or something, 6. So he got 6 points. That's fine. Again, Javonte will be better in usage. I think this team, even with just a suboptimal performance, look at this. 2 points from your quarterback, and he still put up 128. Tyreek won't do this every week or anything like that, but it's just not something it's not like we haven't seen him do this. Like 15 targets is insane. And it's just, I think this is just an insane wide receiving group. So Freaky will be near the top, but that brings us to number one, and that is Crew. And Crew is number one for the reason that Freaky is number two, and it's like in the opposite way. I'm not saying it well, but it's because of the running backs. I know he was worried about his running backs. Bijan is the guy. I mean, he's basically split. He basically split with Algier in his first game, and just looked amazing in the role. I think he'll be featured even more as the season goes on. Aaron Jones is also the guy in Green Bay. He's got to stay healthy though. I'm trying to, I haven't even read this on the hammy, but yeah, if he goes down, then Freaky definitely takes top spot. But I think just elite down here. Garrett Wilson, that's tough with Aaron Rodgers going down. I think that decreases his value a bit. But he's the absolute alpha in there. And I do think the Jets will bring in someone else. I don't think they plan to roll with Zach Wilson all year. And if they bring in like a Carson Wentz, I think Garrett Wilson's value shoots right back up. And then you just look here. The issue with this team is still the depth. Sky Moore didn't get it done. Elijah Moore filled in the flex spot pretty well. I think he got something like 8 or 9 points, right? On a game where it was a run, 8.8 points, had the 7 targets. It didn't make too much of him, but he also got used in a rushing role. I'm happy with Elijah Moore in flex here. It's just a little bit dicey when you get down here, but you expect Christian Watson to be back in a week or so, and suddenly you have these 3 monsters plus a really good flex situation. And if Aaron Jones stays healthy, you have a really good set of running backs here. And he put up 160 points with Lamar Jackson getting 9. However, you also had Dallas getting 37.5. So I think between the two of them, 46, you split them 23 each is still an outperformance from those two positions on average. So yeah, we'll see. But I do like this team the most. It's not like it's a big blowout. I think it could be a toss up really between the top 3 teams. Chris, Freaky, and Morganelli. This is the way I have it now, and I expect them to turn quite a bit throughout the year. But right here, these are your power rankings. I expect to see myself in the top 5 sometime soon. But there's going to be a lot of shifting. But I will be up here. You could better believe it. I'm going to find a way. But that's it for now. I think we're way over the 15 minutes, but try to keep it as short as I could. I'll aim for shorter next time. But I'd say good luck, but fuck you guys.